Good evening. Well, first tonight, we can reveal that more than 700 Syrian war refugees have been resettled across the East Midlands. Vulnerable families have been invited to Britain, some for life-saving hospital operations.
The scheme's designed to help them integrate and avoid putting pressure on public services. So the refugees are being spread away from inner city areas and funded by foreign aid. This special report from our social affairs correspondent, Jeremy Ball.
A new home and a warm welcome, the first of 7 Syrian families who've been resettled at Hucknall in Nottinghamshire. This is a former mining town that's not used to immigration, but the neighbours here have rallied round.
It's just small-minded people, isn't it, that don't accept people. All the kids play together, they go to the same schools, food's amazing. Ramadan is just spot on. Just love it. They're just really lovely. The Shet helps me with my car and stuff. I've helped him. It's not a refugee, they're just people, neighbours, friends.
Like millions of other Syrian war refugees, the Audis escaped to Lebanon, but their 7-year-old Zainab couldn't get life-saving hospital treatment. So the British government invited them here as part of its resettlement scheme. And now Zainab's recovering from a bone marrow transplant.
When I was in hospital, like I was sleeping, they got me the tube in, and I don't know what happened after, but they take it off, and it was better now.
Okay, three, last 3.
Anne's helping the children keep up with their homework. She's a volunteer from a local church. But the boys are also getting support from friends they've made at school.
I learned quite a lot of English of my friends. It's called Harrison. It's quite fun to play here, and for our first time going to the beach, it was really fun. My first time I was riding a donkey. I was on the beach too because I saw some donkeys then. Yeah, it was a bit wonky.
Yeah. They're really good friends, and I like to play with them. All of Hucknall is the best, and I like to live in England forever.
And market towns like Hucknall are becoming home to more and more Syrian war refugees. It's designed to spread them around, to avoid creating ghettos and to encourage integration. But opinions here are divided.
I mean, I'm open to anybody living up here as long as they behave themselves. That's top and bottom, isn't it, really, you know?
I know the refugees, but it just takes the jobs off that lives in this local area.
It's a good idea because some of the things you see that's happening on TV to these people, it's not very nice at all, and it's not a situation I'd like to be in.
No, keep them in the cities because Hucknall's a small town as it is anyway, and there's not enough houses for people that lived here all their lives.
Zainab's hospital appointment.
And the family support worker expected to deal with some teething problems, but when there was an isolated incident of racist abuse, it was the neighbours that called the police.
The immediate neighbours here have been fantastic. They've helped the families as much as possible and you know, almost protected them as well. There were a number of concerns. Communication was a big thing, obviously, because the families didn't speak any English when they first came. But I think overall, people think that it's gone really well.
It hasn't taken the children long to settle here in Nottinghamshire. For their parents, it's been a tougher challenge, but the neighbours, they say, have made all the difference.
Well, Jeremy, just to reiterate, why are these families being brought here to Britain?
Well, this is part of a huge international response. Britain actually sends a lot of aid out for refugees in the countries surrounding Syria, but they're now just overwhelmed by it. So relatively small numbers of Syrians have been invited over to this country, and we can show you where they've been resettled over the last 4 years. In the cities, 270 people have been given homes across Leicester and Nottingham. Another 460 Syrians have been resettled outside the cities, from market towns like Hucknall to villages and suburbs. And what's really different about this resettlement scheme is the planning before they're flown here. They get security checked. Councils can organise everything from school places to empty homes. And also the government gets to choose who comes. So they're choosing people who are particularly vulnerable, some of them even with war wounds.
We've had amputees coming over. We've had a refugee coming over with quite significant head wounds as well. In many cases, people resettled in rural areas, in market towns, have done really, really well because the community have been very, very welcoming. And they've integrated and almost been overwhelmed by the offers of help and kindness. And that's a nice problem to manage.
I mean, those are just great stories, but I guess there must be some cases that haven't actually gone quite as smoothly.
Oh yeah, I've heard about a few families who've had to be moved because they simply felt too isolated. I was talking yesterday to one young Syrian man who told me how strangers have racially abused him on public transport. I think that the organisers do think this is working a lot better than the asylum system. And one big difference is these people, when they come over as refugees, they're allowed to work straight away. So the big challenge really is giving them skills to go out and support themselves. And we're going to be hearing more about that tomorrow.
OK, Jeremy, thank you.